stream it. You'll see the thing pop up in a moment. All right. So, good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Super excited about tonight because it is the very first time that we are bringing on some of the women in leadership that we work with. These are powerhouses, and I cannot wait for you all to learn some gems and engage with us tonight. Tonight's topic is trauma and racial injustice. How do we model and advocate for wellness in the workplace? So really quick, before I actually frame today's session, I just want to open it up to you all to let the people know who you are. So just unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hey, good people. I'm Angie Brito de Rodriguez. I have the pleasure of serving as one of the assistant principals at Urban Act Academy in Indianapolis, and I'm pumped to be here with my girls. Hey, ladies.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brittany Campbell. I'm the Director of Operations at KIPP South Folsom Academy, a charter school in KIPP Metro Atlanta Schools, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you all.
Hey everyone, I'm Danielle Lipal. I am a middle grades math teacher at Westside Atlanta Charter, as well as the co-owner of ATL York Clothing in Atlanta, Georgia. Hey everyone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarai Lucero. I'm the Director of Community Schools here in the Community Charter School of Patterson in New Jersey, and so very excited to be here with you all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eve Slaughter. I'm the Director of Academic Achievement for Capstone Education Group located in Memphis, Tennessee. I also serve as President of the ESPN Academy in Memphis, Tennessee, where we provide free after-school tutoring and reading and math intervention support for students primarily in the South Memphis community, but we also serve students all across the Memphis Mid-South area. I am super excited to be here with these lovely ladies.
All right, thank you all. All right, so before we get started, I just want to start us off with just a few statistics, right? And I want to ground our conversation in what is happening, because we know that any great school leader, teacher, when something happens in our community that impacts the people in our community, we adjust what we're doing, and we had to do some of that for tonight. But before we jump in, some of you may be wondering, what is solidarity, healing, and empowerment? And I want to start with this. 72% of the educational workspace consists of women, yet 26% of secondary school principals are women, and 24% are led by superintendents that are women. When we look at the percentage of Black women, Latina women, Asian women leading in these spaces, those percentages are even much lower, between 3 and 5%. And so we know that there is not many of us leading this work both in and outside of education. We know that there is community, that there's a need for us to engage with one another, to share our experiences, because too often we feel like we're the only ones experiencing that. And so in this cohort, we have found space to be vulnerable, to show up as our authentic selves, to learn from one another, and engage and gain tools to be able to drive this work forward. And so the women in this program throughout the last few weeks, they've been working through cohorts in the evenings, taking time out of their work days to engage in learning with one another. And they have some pretty cool stuff that they came up with. I want to ground tonight's conversation, like for all of us to ground tonight's conversation in what happened to Dante Wright in Minneapolis. For those of you that may not be aware, just in watching the news, Dante Wright was a 20-year-old Black male who was driving in the car with his girlfriend, his mother's child. And he got pulled over because he had one of those what is it called? Those, what do we call them, y'all? The scent,
Air freshener.
The air fresheners.
the air freshener hanging from the rear view mirror. When they ran his tags, they found that he had a warrant out for his arrest. So they asked him to step out of the car. And of course, before he stepped out of the car, he called his mother, asked his mother, hey, this situation is happening. What should I do? And she said, well, if there's anything, just put me on speakerphone with the officer and let me speak to him. When they pulled him out of the car, they told him to hang up the phone. And like, I think any Black male, I think the Black community is incredibly scared to get pulled over. There's a lot of fear, right? I fear for our Black men and our Black boys. And when he was pulled out, they started to put handcuffs on him, and he shuffled his way back into his car. At which point, one of the police officers who has been in the workforce for over 20 years, who trains other officers, shot Dante in his car in front of his mother's child. And the reason why, she confused the gun with a taser. So here we are now, still in our community, serving Black and brown children, Black boys, some of us identifying as Black, and having to, one, process the trauma, the healing that is happening, but also we're all leaders. We have teachers showing up to our spaces, processing what has happened, grappling with what has happened. Teachers who are then expected to turn around and create space for our children. And so tonight, again, the topic is trauma and racial injustice. How do we model and advocate for wellness in the workplace? So, ladies, let's get started. Let's jump into this conversation. I just want to start off with question number one. You've all engaged in this work in solidarity, healing, and empowerment for women of color and ed leadership. How did solidarity show up for you in this cohort? And what was its impact on your leadership practice work? And even as we think about the work ahead of us. Lipal, why don't you start us off?
So for me, the first thing I think about when I think about the She cohort is the sisterhood. And that sisterhood has allowed me to truly have a community that I can talk to. And this is especially significant in this situation. I think oftentimes we look to those directly around us when sometimes that community, we look for others, but sometimes that community has been there all along. And so just being willing to, in this situation, open up and be completely honest with in my moments of success, my moments of failure, like constantly having a group of cheerleaders and a group of supporters that whether I trip and fell, whether I reached a new height, they were there to celebrate with me and even give me advice. And I think oftentimes in teaching, we automatically assume that community always has to be in our school. Sometimes it may be someone you met at a conference. Sometimes it may be somebody you went to high school with that has now chosen to be a teacher or an educator. Sometimes it's someone that works in the community with youth as well. Sometimes it's someone that has no direct ties to your work, but just having that community is really significant in these times, because I don't think I would have been able to enter this week if I didn't have the community I had outside of my building.
Powerful. Thanks so much for sharing that, Danielle. Sarai. Or actually, Eve. Let's go with Eve.
So in preparation for the conversation, I looked up the definition of solidarity, and I'll just share it with you all to ground us in why we're talking about this. So solidarity is defined as unity or an agreement of feeling or action, especially among individuals with a common interest, mutual support within a group. And so when we think about Dante, Wright, and his family and his friends and his community, they are leaning on us to support them in their efforts to bring justice, just like George Floyd's community, just like Sandra Bland's community. And we would be all day if we named all of the names of the communities who are depending on us to support them and stand in unity and solidarity with them. In terms of education and the educational setting, having the ladies on this call and being a part of this cohort has given me a community, just as Danielle kind of shared, but especially around tapping into my feelings and helping others tap into their feelings and naming what the feelings are, and then determining or helping them to be empowered to determine what things they need to put in place to shift their feelings from a red or yellow area to a green area. And I think that is has been so impactful as we talk about the liberation of our schools and the liberation of our children and the liberation of our communities.
Really quick, Eve, you mentioned red, green. Can you give a little bit of context on that?
Oh yeah, so there's a feelings square where there. Say it one more time.
The mood meter. You referring
Yeah.
to the
The mood meter, yes, the mood meter. And so there are words like joyful and elated and relaxed and blessed that fall in the green area. And then there are words like exhausted and tired and sad and overwhelmed that fall in that yellow and red space. And so when you help people tap into their mood, their feelings, at the beginning, you are able to recognize those things and then say and do some things to help them feel empowered to shift from the red and yellow area into that green area, or start to make progress towards shifting to the green area.
Thanks so much for clarifying that, Eve, and to you and Danielle for sharing context on that. I want to start us off here with this next question with just the definition of healing, right? The definition of healing is the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again. And so when we think about that and the work that we have done, the work that we're doing, the work that we're called to do, how did this show up for you in these last few weeks in the cohort together? And then also, what are the implications of that process on your work? I'd love to go to Angela here.
To piggyback off of Eve, when you're asked an intentional question and what you have to name, the specific emotion that you're feeling, you have to go beyond the norm of saying, "Oh, I'm fine. Oh, I'm okay. How's it going? Oh, it's cool." But when you're pushed to be more specific and to name things like, "I'm elated, I'm joyful, I'm pensive, I'm exhausted, I'm drained," that in and of itself, I think is part of the healing. During this process, for me, I was accustomed to being in that bubble as a leader, of having to endure all of the adventures, as I call them, of the challenging things that we experience behind closed doors or in really challenging leadership spaces, and then have to get in front of my team and be able to help them, give them the energy that they need to push forward. So this space for me was healing because I was able to not only feel free to share how I actually felt when I was processing or feeling really hard things, but I was able to acknowledge the fact that there were areas within my leadership in which I had believed lies about what leadership meant, what it was supposed to be like, not only as an ed leader, but specifically as a woman of color. We don't have to be superwoman all of the time. Like, we're allowed to be human. And in our humanity, we're able to give others permission to also be human. And sometimes me being human means, y'all, I ain't got it in me today. And I need a mental health day to recoup, recover, and get myself together so that I'm equipped to walk alongside you to do this adventure together. Because sometimes that's not fully the case. But in that healing also comes a level of freedom to be able to be your full and true self without hiding behind the masks of what you feel leadership is supposed to look like. And I've seen that show up in my work because in me being able to be free to say, "Oof, today has been an adventure. allows my team to also feel free to say, it's been an adventure for me too, and this is where I need help. Then we're able to support each other, not only within the cohort, but also able to extend that into our school families.
Thanks so much for that. Brittany, I know that you, in addition to what Angela shared, you do specific things with your staff, right? In your own leadership practice in this healing journey. And so would love for you to add some insight on that.
So with the team at the school, like everyone knows, like your time is your time. And that starts from the top. So making sure, like me as a leader, like I take the time to focus on self-care. And it's not just something I do behind a closed door. I make sure it could be shared outwardly as well. If that's me bringing prepared meals to school, if that's me sharing like how a workout went or how difficult a workout was, or how challenging it is prepping for a bodybuilding competition, I make sure I'm showing my staff like my own lifestyle and how I take care of myself, to encourage them to take better care of themselves and to just care for themselves in general. So when it comes, I actually asked my staff, like 2 of my staff members, I was curious, like, why do you feel, guys, the way I asked the question was, do you feel comfortable taking PTO? And the answer to the question was yes. So of course I had to ask why. And one person is new on staff this year and shared that he is comfortable taking PTO because I let it be known that it's totally fine and your time is your time and it should be used the way you see fit. And he made mention of how he's been in an environment where that wasn't the case, why like they felt guilt, felt like they weren't a team player with taking off. So I really think it's important as leaders to make sure that you are being the model, being the example for self-care, so that will trickle down to your staff and they will too want to take care of themselves as well. You're on mute.
What I hear coming up, both with what you, Angela, said and what you, Brittany, said, is this idea of giving yourself permission first, right? And when you give yourself permission, you give others permission to walk in their truth. And it's just so incredible to see how both of you have done that and continue to do that in your work. So thank you so much for that. I want to shift here to just talking a little bit around empowerment. And we're going to get a little bit more into some specifics and offering some concrete advice and specific steps that leaders can take. So make sure you have your pens and papers for everybody out there watching us. Okay. All right. Question 4. How did this experience empower you all, your staff, and your students, right? Because there's many people out there who are like, oh, well, you know, you go through this leadership development program, you have a coach, but in actuality, there might be some people wondering, well, how does this show up in the actual work, investing in this type of work? And so with that and the idea of the work that you all have been doing around wellness, what has showed up? I'd love for Eve, for you to start us off here, and then Sarai.
Okay, so let's see. In terms of empowering me, I am more positive. We set B1B goals in this group every week, and we have to post them in our thread. And so, and these ladies do hold us accountable to reaching that goal. And if you don't, they give you tough love, which is good, and accountability, which is good. So I start each week, each day saying, I'm going to say something positive from the jump. As soon as I open my eyes, I'm going to express positivity and gratitude and spend a few moments just thanking God for giving me a new day to make an impact in the lives of not just my students, but my staff who have more face time with our students. And so that has in turn helped me to minister, so to speak, to the staff and students at one of the schools where I spend most of my time on campus. And so people who see me and come in contact with me say, you know, no matter what's going on, we don't ever know if you're happy or sad, because you're always going to give a smile, and you're going to always give a smile to the students and to the adults. That's all because of this program. That's all because of this program. And so I'm really grateful to be able to share those things, but also starting each meeting in a positive sense with an appreciative inquiry and giving our leaders a chance to just begin from their strengths-based self and show up in the meetings from their strengths and not talk about necessarily where they were weak, but starting off talking about a time where they've experienced success or a time where something has gone well. And that has in turn impacted their teachers, where they start meetings with the teachers. Okay, share some successes that you've had this week. And then that has impacted our students as well. So I work with fifth and sixth grade in our network really, really deeply. And so the students are always like, hey, let me share this success with you, or can I tell you something that might make you proud? And they're excited to share those things. So when you think about just healing, I would not have been in this place without the healing piece, but I wouldn't have had the healing piece without the solidarity piece.
Eve, you mentioned your B1B goal. What's the B1B goal?
Your B1B goal is a small goal that you take to be 1% better today than you were yesterday, and it builds up. There's some work that we do with Noemi and her brother Joshua on Clubhouse Mondays at 6:30, where we just talk about different aspects of how do you get 1% better. Because the thought is, if you get 1% better every day, eventually you'll build a habit and you'll be at a 100% in this goal area before you know it, because every day you're working towards that 1% better.
That's so true, Eve. And one thing I realized with trying to create a habit, like let's say I'm not doing something that I want to maintain as a habit, I'm trying to replace it. If you do not replace that habit, that I guess quote unquote negative habit, with something positive, you will find yourself like going right back to that same negative habit. So I highly recommend every single time you want to end a bad habit, you need to replace it with a positive habit and build it into something that you do regularly and consistently anyway.
And Brittany's definitely one to be on the lookout too when you see the B1B goal, because your discipline is admirable.
Yes, admirable.
Admirable. When I saw Brittany's like agenda for the workout, I said, "Oh Jesus, I need to really be about my B1B goal, and I'm gonna be part of that workout because that's some heat right there." And I wasn't able to make it, but I sweated looking at that mug.
Eve got it in with me, and Noemi got it in with me that night. So we had a lot of fun.
Yes, I know. I need to pick that back up.
I wanted to,
and then said
I was gonna piggyback on Eve and Brittany now. And I was gonna say that one thing we also have to think about is how you speak to yourself about your goals and your habits. I think about how I used to think, oh, I have to do something. No, I get to drink 2 liters of water every day. It's something I'm giving my body. So recognizing that, looking for the positive, even in those situations, I get to wake up every morning at 6:30 or 5 or whatever time you wake up to go serve and move in my values every day. So find those positive moments, but recognize that there's nothing wrong with those moments where you do need to take a break. There's nothing wrong with if you're a teacher and you're draining Mondays. That's okay. It's recognizing how you got there and recognizing what led to that emotion.
I think that's truly what Lipal was saying. It's really effective in the way that we communicate with our team to ensure that we provide them with that positive approach. And I can say for me, this course has taught me how to be more of an effective leader in how I provide feedback and motivate and increase the skill levels of my team every single day. It taught me how to define my vision for my department, and that vision for my department is to empower our students with agency, with voice, with different character traits that they need to become future leaders. And us being more effective leaders helps us develop and nurture and empower our scholars one day that they're going to be in our place. So this course for me was very vital and essential to make sure that I defined my leadership style and empowered my team to find theirs, and so on. It has a ripple effect that with ourselves, if we're being as effective as possible, our team will be. Our team will be when they're in front of the students. So this course was truly essential, and you can see the results with our team and how they're performing each and every day after you really start implementing these different types of result-driven practices with them.
I agree with that 100%. And it made me think of the impact business chemistry styles really had on the team. And more so for me, once I learned my business chemistry style, I realized that that's the way I typically choose to communicate with everyone. And that doesn't work or land on everyone in the way that I intend for it to. So once I took the time to learn the business chemistry style of my team, I was then able to adjust the way I communicate the best way that they receive it, which of course allowed us to just be better together as a unit and also just more effective. So you're very right on that one.
You know, I have a question because Saray, you talked about, Brittany, you talked about your communication language, like your style, right? Saray, you talked about strength finders, like you got to learn more about your strengths in a more intimate way and how you show up for the world. What did that do for you?
That taught me how to utilize my strengths each and every single day, to take a strength-based approach to any item I'm facing. I used to be one of those people. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people. I'm like, oh, this ain't working. Why isn't it working? What am I doing wrong? Now I focus on what am I doing right and how I can utilize that success every day with any other project I'm working on. So
I'm gonna push
just
you
the successes and strengths.
That, give me one word, how did that make you in turn feel?
Ooh, how did that empowered me. That's it. That's really the word you can use. I feel empowered. I feel like I'm a better leader every single day because of that.
So I'm gonna go a little off script here, y'all, because I think that it just makes sense to ask this question. Knowing what is happening in our world right now, right? And knowing that oftentimes like we're focused on the news and what's happening and the deficits and what's not going right and all the things that we need to fix in our community, like doing this work and having this conversation, what does it bring up for you in terms of how we could be showing up in our workplaces, or specifically in a season like this?
I think it's just kind of like that one more thing on top of this like mental health cake that we've been building since March 13th, 2020. And so one thing that I would say this cohort specifically has taught me is the grace for myself has moved into my students, and recognizing that in this space, whether we reflect on the violence that we're consistently seeing as African Americans against us in our community through police brutality, we think about the impact of the COVID pandemic specifically on communities of color in the United States, beyond just the infection rate, but the impact it's had on employment, some of our students, and even our staff members' lifestyles. And just reflecting on those moments and recognizing that everyone is in a different space right now. Everyone. And some people like us don't have a community. Everybody's not like us. They may not have a community to really download and truly begin that healing and that solidarity. And so recognizing that we have to enter every space with that grace. And that's what this makes me think about, is that moment of grace and recognizing that we're all in this different space.
I think for me, it also brought up all the lies that one believes when you're leading, that things have to be this way. You got to plow through, got to be determined, got to show grit, got to be excellent at all costs. And sometimes that mentality allows you to plow right over people who are living through a global pandemic and who are emotionally fragile, people who are experiencing sudden deaths in their family or around them, people who, like to Lipal's point, are experiencing like economic instability. And, you know, for those who have students who are homeless, like that number increasing or having increasingly more disparities that our students are up against. So I know for our team, like being exposed to all of these things has caused us to show grace to ourselves, but also stop and be able to say, okay, the plan today was for us to analyze this data as a team in this way, an action plan. And while that is the correct thing to do, and it's what our kids need, is our staff at a place mentally, emotionally, to be able to handle that weighty piece of data right now, given like where their mental space is at? And having a pause, create a space to breathe, and also create a space for staff to communicate like, hey, this is where I am, this is what I can do, and today isn't the day. Okay, so what can I do today to build my staff up so that tomorrow we're able to dive into that? And I think that those intentional pauses just happen at a higher frequency because we recognize the weight of the things that our staff and our students and families are experiencing.
That's very true. And we've done majority of those things as well. And one thing we notice is that we're doing it now because of the COVID situation and the pandemic, but it's also pushing us to be mindful of that. Even when we return to probably 100% of scholars in the building, that doesn't mean that we can stop thinking about the needs of our staff in the way that we have done during this pandemic, because those needs are going to still exist. So I'm really grateful that this happened because it has caused us to stop, pause, think, rethink, redesign the way that we operate as a school. And I think it's going to make it that much better once we are able to be back in our buildings 100%.
I completely agree, Brittany. I'm like, these needs were always there. The pandemic just brought them to light. So really moving forward, we need to make sure that we keep that in mind in everything we do.
Yes. And Sarai, I know like one of your biggest roles in your district is you are over community programming, like all the resources and grants that come to your school, the socio-emotional resources, the after school programming, all of that. And so I just love that you are leading that work in your community, and you are also thinking about the fact that this is a priority and it needs to continue. And for anyone out there that is watching, we cannot make the mistake to go back into our schools and our districts and try to do the same thing that we were doing before the pandemic. We cannot resist the urge. I know there are pressures, state pressures, right? Federal things that we are centering. Resist the urge. Center people first. So with that, on this topic of empowerment, and you guys have already talked about this, but I just want to give an opportunity to anyone who would like to share and add to this question. What did you learn about yourself and your leadership practice through this program, but particularly through our group sessions, focusing on trying to discover what is one of our biggest challenges, right? That's how this all started. From there, you all had to come together with what you all shared in common, sharing your experiences, and then landing on this question that you all wanted to solve. So what did you learn about yourself and your leadership practice in this journey?
So I shifted to my role as assistant principal right in the middle of the global pandemic. And I was already intimidated by the title assistant principal. And in my head, that meant all of these things that I didn't have. It required all these abilities that I did not possess. And I thought about all of these different things that I saw others do that were really successful, and was hitting myself because I didn't possess those strengths. So because I didn't possess those strengths, because I didn't show up in the way that other assistant principals showed up, or in the way that other leaders showed up, then I wasn't doing my role sufficiently. So I was burning myself out, trying to do the work like I thought it was supposed to be done with someone else's strengths. And then in the process, deeming the skills that I possess as weaknesses that disqualified me to do my role. As you can imagine, COVID and urban education and all of those challenges are already hard enough. And you couple them with this inner battle of like, that ain't enough, sis. You got to do more. And that's still not good enough. And you don't have what it takes. So then having a chance to come and be part of this program and learn about my strengths and be able to understand that I'm restorative, that I'm an empath, that I'm a developer, and that I have other gifts and skills and strengths that meet the specific needs of my school in a way that some of the traits I was trying to operate in and didn't possess don't. And that was incredibly encouraging to me, because it allowed me to have more confidence in the things that I was doing, allowed me to have more joy in the work that I was doing. It allowed me to be able to celebrate myself and my successes, but it also allowed me to see that I was helping move the needle in my school in a unique way that the other folks that I was trying to replicate like could not. And that's been revolutionary, because it not only allows me to celebrate the ways in which I'm unique and different, but it now also gives me an eye to see where my peers are also unique and really strong. It allows me to collaborate with them, like, hey, you're really good at this, and I would love to learn from, to glean from, or to, I think that strength is needed to spearhead this endeavor at our school. And it allows a level of like weight to be off one's shoulders when your perspective shifts in that way. You're able to appreciate yourself in that way. So that's been really exciting for me.
Thank you, Angela, for sharing that. Brittany or Sarai, if you want to tap into this one.
I think I taught me a whole bunch of stuff. But really what I'm taking from this, especially in the role I have in the year that we've had with the pandemic, is to make sure I have an oxygen mask for myself, that I make sure I give myself time to really reflect and just for me. And, self-care is extremely important. And with the work that I do every single day, having families come up to you and tell you, like, we're about to lose our house, like we don't have food on the table, like seeing that every single day, it can take an emotional toll on you. And for most of the year, I did let it affect me. And of course, I was coming home, emotionally drained, feeling like I'm not doing enough, but really being able to take that oxygen mask and take a second to myself and say, I am doing the best I can. I'm offering as much as I can. And I know that tomorrow's going to be better, and we're going to be able to support our families as much as possible. We're going to find different resources and tools for them. But what else I also learned was I was able to get back to my why. I feel like we get lost in day-to-day things. We forget our why, and our why is what pushes us to do better. So I think really taking the time to reflect and just remember why I do this every day, why I wake up every day, I go to work. It's extremely important. That's what pushes us to do our work, to do better. That's really important. I feel like I'm more of an effective leader because of that.
And what really helped me was just know that it's okay to stop a challenge. I'm a very competitive person. So if I start something, I feel the urge to finish it. And if I don't finish it, then I feel that I'm failing. And through this program and through the work and increased emotional intelligence, that's not the case. Because although like I definitely want to complete the challenge, it's probably not the time for me to focus on it at that point of time. And to just be more specific, I was prepping for a bodybuilding competition, a national one, and then life happened. And I had to realize that this is not something that I need to focus on at this time, because there's something else that needs to take priority. But it was being bold enough to actually have that discussion with myself and unpack that and really understand that I need to make a change to make sure that I can focus on what should be most important at that time. Not to say I can't go back to it, but it just wasn't the priority for now.
So now you mentioned having like an oxygen mask. What are some of the things that served as an oxygen mask for you?
Oh my God. It's honestly the smallest things you forget to do. Like I was one of those people, I would forget honestly to take a lunch, to take 30 minutes for myself, put the computer away, sit down and just take time for myself. I'm one of those people. I'll take my food. I'll be working on my laptop eating, going outside for a bit, especially now how most of us were working from home and we had to create a space in our houses that, is specifically for work and an area that we can just leave work there and then the rest able to walk around and, be able to be at home with family. It's just those different types of things, those little things that we forget to do every day, making sure I start doing it, whether it's creating time for myself, going outside for a bit, making sure to close the computer after a certain time. Like those are just the little things that I started working on to make sure I had my oxygen mask.
One,
You have your water bottle with you?
Oh my God, where is it? All right, I'm not even gonna show you because I'm
come
I've
on.
been doing a little bad today. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to catch up.
No, but funny
sorry.
stories that one of my teammates, like I have a habit, I eat every 2 to 3 hours. So I'm not going to forget to eat, but I'll eat and work. And she mentioned one day to me, she was like, eat mindfully, like don't work. Just focus on eating, focus on the way your food, like you chew it, it tastes, like the flavors and all of that. So I tried it, and I must admit, eating mindfully is a much different eating experience than just eating and working. So I highly recommend that to anyone that hasn't tried it. Like step away from the work and just eat and focus on what you're eating and what it tastes like.
I love that, Brittany. I love that. Make sure I do that every single day.
And Angela, I love that you threw that question out there too. Like, what does oxygen mask look like to you? And I just want to name everyone out there watching, right? We all talk about wellness and the workplace self-care. We got to do a better job. And ain't nobody at work talking about self-care and wellness, right? So I want all of us to really like push ourselves, like take some of the questions that are being asked here, take some of the topics, and go and create a space, especially right now, to engage in this type of dialogue. If nothing else, create the space. You have, look at that. They all have like, they got their water bottles. Sarah got her water bottle around there, right? And this wasn't the case 10 weeks ago, right? The Fitbit, I mean, I think someone had to go look for their Apple Watch, right? And so, but it's through these hey, there we go. It's through these conversations and intentionality that the self-care actually becomes a part of the work that we do. And I just want to say, does anyone else want to add in there? If not, we'll go to kind of our last question. Eve, I see you unmuted yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just like to add one of the things that I've learned being a part of this program is it connects to that old adage, stop expecting the you out of other folks, right? Well, you can't expect the you out of other folks because they don't have the same strengths that you have. And you don't have the strengths that they have. And so when you're operating in your strengths, you're going to be successful all of the time. And I think back to my strengths and how when I began as a leader in 2016, I took the Gallup Strengths Finders test, and then I took it again this time, and there was only one thing that was the same, and that's just one of my core values is building relationships and just being a good person, and showing up for people in my relationships and just how I go about building those relationships. But the other people can't be me, because I have my strengths that show up in a way that they show up in. And so like Angela was saying, say it for me. I want to get it right before the end of the thing.
Angela.
Huh?
Angela.
Angela. I'm going to get it. I promise
You probably says.
World, I am going to get it. But nevertheless, like she was saying, when you started to focus on who you were and what your strengths were, you started to be confident. That was my one goal for engaging in this work, is just to be confident in the spaces that I inhibit. And as I figured out my strengths, I am able to help not just the people that I lead, but the people who lead with me. I was able to help them figure out what their strengths were. And I can say to somebody, and I'm thinking about one particular person, like you want her to do this the way you would do it, but that's not her strength. That's your strength. So now let's think about her strength and how are you going to deliver this information to her? That goes for people 0 to 99. I have a 5-year-old who has his own unique set of strengths, but I can't give him a task and explain it to him from my strengths approach. I have to give it to him the way he understands and the way he communicates. And every single time we do that for children, every single time we do that for adults, they are able to experience success and confidence. And then ultimately, you all know my whole purpose on earth is to liberate children that look like me and look like people in this space, the Black and brown children. When we start giving babies strengths at 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 years old, we are setting them up for true liberation. That's all I wanted to add.
I wish I had a mic so I can drop it for you.
Yes.
Right. I'm about to like, I mean, I felt everything you were saying. Like, this work is about liberation, right? And I can't say it enough. And I say this especially on Instagram. We can't liberate kids and students if we ourselves, the adults in the building, the leaders, the teachers who are spending 40 plus hours with kids, how can we teach them to liberate themselves if we don't feel liberated? If we are not in a workplace that taps into our innate strengths, into it, that where the coaching that happens for us is assets based, and there's so much work to be done. And if we could just shift our lens and how we do it, right, just a slight shift, the liberation, to Eve's point, would happen. That was powerful. Thank you. So kind of in closing here, given what you've experienced and learned in this cohort, there's a lot of folks who are watching right now, who are tuning in, or who are going to watch this later, right? What advice would you have for any leader out there who in the last quarter of the school year, they're closing this school year, they're planning for next school year? What advice would you give them, knowing what you know now?
I don't know what it's like for anyone not in the Midwest, but after the icky weather season, it's starting to get warm outside. Kids are dropping virtual and coming back in person. And while the kids are fired up because they run on solar energy, staff are getting tired, and they feel like the lag of like testing season coming, and just this final push to the end of the school year. People are wearing out and getting tired and dry. So my advice would be, back to Sadai's points, find your oxygen mask. Identify 3 to 5 things that really energize you, that really give you life, that allow you to take a breather and step away and do at least one of those things every single day. Over the course of COVID, I learned that I became a plant lady, y'all, and I haven't shared with the cohort, but I've acquired almost 10 plants. And I didn't realize that I was going to enjoy finding the right pot for this plant and repotting the plant and being able to get clippings from one plant to plant another one. And that, awkwardly enough, really, I love the city life, but that really gives me life. And it's fun to see oh my God, it's growing. And now I can plant another one. So that would be just my advice. Find 3 to 5 things that really fill your bucket and do at least one of those every single day to the end of the school year.
My advice would be just take time to talk to the people, see how the people are feeling, tap into their mood, and then pose some thoughtful questions around how you can help them shift. We know that this has been a extremely difficult year, not just for us as adults, but for the children. If you listen to children talk about coronavirus, they have some things to say, and they have some very strong opinions about just their safety and their health, and they have some concerns also. And so encouraging your leaders and your teachers to tap into how they feel, and then tapping into how the children feel. A snack cart goes a long way. Covering a class goes a long way. Saying good morning and asking, how can I help, goes a long way. A $5 Starbucks gift card goes a long way. So those little things, the little things really do matter, and the little things really do make an impact long term.
I just want to piggyback off what Angela and Eve were saying. It's just, I know for our school, we do wellness check-ins with our students and our families, our parents, our guardians, but we forget to do wellness check-ins with ourselves. How are we doing? I think really making sure you find time to check in with yourself. How are you doing? What do you need? What are your needs? I think that's important too. And just want to say to all the educators out there, before becoming the director of the community schools department here at CCSP, I worked for a nonprofit organization. And when the pandemic hit, it was honestly a somewhat smooth transition into working at home. We didn't see, it's just me, it was a small nonprofit. So it's just me and like 3 other people. Of course, we were seeing everything that was going on around us, how it affected our community. But for our educators out there, the work that you do, everyone now sees how essential it is. And our scholars, they may forget to say it or they aren't thinking of it as at the moment, but they appreciate the work that you're doing for them and how much you support them. Because whether they know it at the moment or not, they truly need you every single day. So just remember that you are appreciated every single day.
I agree with that. All 3, what every single person said. So I'll just like to add a little something throughout that entire process of what they recommended. Just make sure you're being the best version of yourself. Whatever that version is, just be the best version of you because you're the only one that can be you. And I always say it to myself, I'm my only competition. So I recommend you thinking of that as well. Like you're only competing with yourself. So when you look in the mirror, are you satisfied? Are you content with who you are? And if that's true, then don't concern yourself with if that's not the case for anyone else.
So I completely agree with everyone else. I'm not going to repeat what everyone said, but one thing I wanted to add was understanding what your values and your strengths are and recognizing that moving in them on a daily basis and not being ashamed of it. I think oftentimes as educators, leaders, people in this space, we see something that may not align with our values, that may not align with what we think is right for kids, what we may think is right for the staff. Say something. Say something, because there's somebody out there that may not feel comfortable saying something, or there may be somebody who doesn't have that power, or it feels like they don't have the power or the voice to say it. So if you have that voice, use your voice and trust who you are and what you stand for.
I want to add one more thing. Feedback. Listen to the feedback that is provided to you from people that you look up to or people that you haven't probably had a conversation with, but they're paying attention to what you're doing. Be receptive and open to feedback. Process it, see what you can do to change, see what you can implement, any of those things. Just always be open to feedback because it will truly help you to continue to be the best version of yourself.
That's a whole word.
Whole word, you all. And just kind of going back to where we started earlier today is just also really understanding everything that's happening and operating in the context of, for example, the recent shooting that happened and how much this conversation is also needed for us, right? Like our communities, Black communities, are tired of being sick and tired. We are exhausted. And it is not our job to go and teach someone or tell someone that something is racist, right? It takes a toll on us. The conversations that really need to be pushed right now are these conversations right here. Because these are the ones that sustain us. These are the conversations that give us air to breathe and that keep us in this work. So as we I don't know if anyone wanted to add anything else before we shift here. Angela, it looks like you want to share something.
It was everything you said was just so spot on. I was just soaking it in because you're right. It is like we've been with each other for the past few weeks and we get these gems every Wednesday and we get these gems in our one-on-ones, but to be able to have the space to reflect on it, I'm like, dang, man. Yeah, that's all. Just appreciating the power of it all.
Thanks, Angie. So, you all, I didn't tell you we would do this part, but we are going to do an I am publicly. But this time, we are going to do an I am just for 20 seconds. We won't do it for the full minute. We just want to model, right? Something empowering, something that can give life. So if you've never done this exercise, we're just going to close out with this I am, okay? So I'm going to set the timer for 20 seconds. And in these 20 seconds, you are going to unmute yourself when I call your name. And for 20 seconds, you will speak about who you are. You will affirm who you are for 20 seconds. If you run out of something to say, repeat what you said until something else comes to your mind. Y'all don't kill me when we get off.
I was like, let me drink my water real quick.
Look, she knew we had words coming. She knew it.
All right. Does anyone want to go first?
I'll go. I'm already off mute.
Okay. All right, Brittany, 20 seconds. We'd love for you to just affirm who you are, starting with I am. Go.
I am beautiful. I am God-fearing. I am a wife. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I am amazing. I am fantastic. I am operations driven. I am goofy. I am adventurous. I am a thrill seeker. I am done.
Yay! Okay. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
All right. It was that Eve.
Yes.
Okay, Eve, ready? And it's yours time to shine. I am. Go.
I am worthy. I am confident. I am prosperous. I am kind. I am a revolutionary. I am intelligent. I am caring. I am capable. I am God-fearing. I am the best version of myself today. I am a mom. I am a good mom. I am a wife. I am a good wife. I am a daughter. I am the best daughter. And I'm done.
All right. Anyone want to go next?
I'll go.
Oh. All right, Lipal, ready? It is your turn to be empowered with I am and go.
I am a strong African American woman. I am powerful. I am perceptive. I am an artist. I am an entrepreneur. I am creative. I am full of ideas. I am the best version of myself at this moment that I am supposed to be. I am moving forward. I am accepting. I am loving. I am caring.
Time. Wow. Y'all are gonna make me cry. Maybe I'm just really sensitive today or something. All right. Who would like to go next? Angela or Sarai?
I can go.
Okay. All right. So Sarai, it is time for you to be empowered and share with the world who you are.
I'm ready. I've been waiting for this.
And
I am empowered. I am a leader. I am bold. I am sensitive. I am passionate. I am strong. I am Latina. I am sincere. I am kind. I am gifted. I am a gift. I am significant. Thank you. I am creative. I am responsible. Get me stuck.
You had me at I am a gift.
I love that. Yo, that's a whole shirt.
Period.
I am
Period.
I love it. Love it. Wow. Powerful. Okay. Thank you so much for that. All right. So Angela Brito de Rodriguez, it is your time to be empowered and show the world who you are. You have 20 seconds, Queen, and go.
I am Angela Brito de Rodriguez. I am a world changer. I'm an empath. I'm a developer. I am restorative. I am a strong communicator. I am sensitive to other people's emotions. I'm a strong listener. I am a caregiver. I am a lover. I am a fighter. I am courageous. I am an advocate. I am an encourager. I am loving. I am filled with joy. I am empowered. I am excited for what the future has for me.
All right. And so that is time. You all show them some love in the chat. If you're watching this right now, show some love to these queens in the chat and affirm them. And you all, I just want to thank you. You all are a gift to me. It has been an honor and a pleasure to serve you all. For those of you that don't know, this is also our like grand finale. This is the last group session for now that we're having in this program through this cohort. But I just want to thank you all for showing up authentically as yourselves, for doing the work, for challenging yourself. Like Brittany said, you are your own competition. And just thank you for doing the work to liberate, for the work of liberation of ourselves, so that we can in turn go and create communities where our students and our teachers feel liberated. So thank you so much. For those of you watching, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, share this live with other people. This is powerful. Like the gems that were dropped, you guys got real exercises, real examples, questions that you could engage with your staff, and from these powerhouses. And so make sure that you share that. For those of you that are wondering, hey, is this program happening again? Yes, it is. You can go to our website, www.thepamonefirm.com. Our next cohort launches in May because of the need and the requests that women out there have been saying, hey, before the year ends, going into the new school year, we just want to be empowered through this experience. And so you can go and book a free discovery call. We do have a few spots left for that cohort. Everyone, it has been a pleasure. Ladies, hang on tight. We will see you all later. Let's just wave to everybody.